Anybody have any other questions for Charlie?
Sure. What's the connection between model railroading and the Titanic?
Okay, I knew somebody would ask. Well, there is a funny one. It isn't funny at the time. There was a model railroad magazine that was published in England. It was the first, we think, published, and it was the only one published in the world at the time. The U.S. did not have its model railroad magazine until the early 1900s, and it wasn't at 1912. Well, there were the June 1912 issue of that magazine from England had a little blurb in it, and it said, "To our American subscribers, we apologize that you did not receive the May 1912 issue, which went down on the Titanic." So they had shipped their entire couple of hundred issues from England to New York, where they were to be mailed out to their American subscribers on the Titanic, because it was the fastest ship in its maiden voyage, and they had said they were going to break the speed record. And so the magazine never got delivered. It is somewhere on the floor of the ocean. So the May 1912 issue for 215, I think, American subscribers, which is a phenomenal amount in 1912, is on the bottom of the ocean in the Titanic. We find obscure facts.
Charlie, John Garrity, Australia.
Yeah, John, how you been?
Pretty good. Quick
Good.
question.
Sure.
That magazine, would it have been Model Engineer or something?
I think it is Model Engineer. Yeah, actually, I'm
Right.
trying to remember the name, but I think you're correct.
Okay. Well, for those not in the know, Model Engineer is probably the longest running model hobby magazine in the world. It was primarily focused on live steam, but there's a whole flock of other models in there. And over the years, they've done a lot of good stuff. And that's my comment. And apart from Smuggler's Cove, any plans to import anything else from Australia?
Well, you just about throttled us, because you nice people paid the shipping of that modular OM30 layout up to the U.S., which was not insignificant.
Yeah.
But we would love to have anything our good friends down in Australia want to provide, because the modeling down there, if you have never been to Australia, and I've been 4 or 5 times now, you've got to get down there. The modeling level is incredibly good. I've been to a number of their conventions, which are great fun, by the way, and they do them right. I tell you, the products you can't get here. I mean, I know who needs an HO Kangaroo up in California, but that isn't what I'm talking about. Some of the things they have, some of the models I've seen, anything like the Red Stag lumber, that was a company. I mean, anything done by those gentlemen is inspiring and is absolutely the best modeling. And Smuggler's Cove is some of the best modeling you'll ever see in any scale. It is spectacular. And visitors, again, that's probably the most I would say probably the most popular, and it's the first one they see of the dioramas. And I call it a diorama because unfortunately we can't have it running. It's just not practical. But it's probably the most popular because it is so friggin' detailed. And every square inch has something interesting going on in O scale, and it is stunningly beautiful. So you guys done good.
Thanks, Charlie.
Anybody else?
I have a question. Is there anything on the east side of the Mississippi that the NMRA has?
Well, the NMRA does not on the east side, although we sure looked. And a number of people said, "Oh, why do you have it in Sacramento?" Because because Charlie and Bob are in San Francisco Bay Area. No, that is not why we have it in Sacramento. We have it in Sacramento simply because they're the only place of the many we approached that would do this, and we didn't have the money or the funds to have our own standalone exhibit. That requires a staff, that requires advertising, that requires a lot of stuff. Whereas putting it in a known and successful venue like a museum, automatically you don't have those problems. And sure enough, we don't here. But we did approach Pennsylvania. We approached B&O. We approached St. Louis, the Museum of Transport. There were a couple of children's museums we even went to. Most said no. Almost all of them said no. The few that said yes had strings that we couldn't reach. We just couldn't do. Now, in terms of another exhibit, there is a group in Chattanooga that is trying to start a museum of miniatures, and they want the NMRA to do something on railroading, but they haven't gone beyond the talk stage. So it's possible that could happen. The other problem we have, of course, is volunteers. An exhibit, especially one like this, now this is unusual because it is extremely a high standard exhibit. We had to be in a Smithsonian affiliate. An exhibit like this requires a lot of money. Like I said, this one literally cost $1 million, and that requires a lot of fundraising. And it also requires a dedicated volunteer staff to see the project through. Now, believe it or not, there were two of us who saw this whole thing through. That wasn't the plan, it's just the reality. Bob Brown and myself. We had a number of other wonderful people give us a hand on various segments. So I'm not saying it was just us. But if you do something in the East or you do something in the Midwest, you're going to have a crew of people, a wad load of money, and a determination. And if you have those three, go for it.
Well, being a long-term member of the NMRA, I can imagine, I don't have to imagine, I know the determination that it took for you and Bob to get this thing done and to get all the funds raised and to get the coordination with California and all the rest of it, because everybody in the NMRA was not for this. And there was a lot of discussion back and forth. So I can't tell you how honored we are for you to be here tonight, because
Thank you.
without you, in my opinion, it never would have come about. It took somebody with real dogged determination, in my opinion, to weather the storms that happened for a long time in the NMRA, to get this money raised, to get everybody on the same page, and to push this project along. So congratulations. It was a hell of an effort.
Well, thank you. And I hope everybody will take a look at the exhibit through the NMRA website or YouTube. You can just literally type in NMRA Model Railroad exhibit in YouTube and you'll get videos on it as well. And these are professionally produced, by the way, so they're not some amateur, iPhone video. And take a look and be proud, because this is something that is something done for all of us. It is something I'm proud of, but it's something you can be proud of too. And good people like Clark Kooning, when they were on the board and when he was vice president, I mean, a lot of people contributed to this. It wasn't just me and Bob Brown, who's, by the way, doing well if you're a Gazette fan. And if you are a Gazette fan, I hope you've enjoyed the modeling that I've been able to do. I wish I could bring some here and show you, because I love modeling too. And I commend you for this this wonderful session that you're doing. It's really great. But thank you again, and I won't take any more of your time, but I appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much for being here this evening. I really do appreciate it, and I know everybody else does too. Charlie, let me ask you, if people are interested in volunteering for this next phase, which sounds fantastic to me, can you put your email maybe in the chat, or Clark, maybe you can put his email in the chat?
Clark can, sure. Clark can do that, because
so
my
that they'll-
technical, I literally
You're
am
okay with that, Joe, Charlie? You're okay with that?
I'm literally 15 minutes from Apple's headquarters. I'm about 10 minutes from Google's headquarters. And do you think I know any of this stuff? Nah.
But you're okay with me putting it up for you?
Sure, I'm okay. I'm
Okay.
fine with that.
Okay. And by the way, the $20 is in the mail for you.
Yeah, but it's Canadian.
Well, yeah.
Charlie, thanks so much for being
All right, I'm gonna say sayonara and go have my dinner because I'm on the Pacific and we haven't had dinner yet. So take care, everybody.
I understand. So now I'd like to open this up for questions for all of the build-alongs and for Chris and so forth. For any of you that have any questions about the modeling tonight. I know one person had a question for Dave Schultz that I cut off.
I did have a question about the ITA build, and it actually goes back to last week. And the masking process, when you did the spray painting, did you mask with Fiscuits or with tape or with a liquid? And how did you manage to go around that curved area? If you were using like tape or something, how did you mask that? And was there a specific sequence in the masking spray painting process?
Oh, that's a lot there. Okay, so masking, I just use painter's tape. I'm simple. I'm a very simple kind of guy when it comes to a lot of the stuff that I do. I don't want to say that I'm a master at anything. I just kind of do it as I have to. When it comes to the masking with the painter's tape, I largely do that when I'm doing kind of the spray type of stuff, just because spray is going to obviously go all over the place. And you may have to unpack that for me one by one here, because I don't think I'm going to remember everything that you asked all in one there. When it comes to going around different things, just being careful. If it can't be masked or it's not easy to mask, then I will do different types of things to just be careful. One of the techniques that I typically have done is, if you're going to be painting and you got to do fine type of things, sorry, I'm not sure where, I can't see my camera, so I'm not sure if where everybody can see me here. Oh, well, it's off. That would explain why nobody's seeing anything here. I can't start video. Oh. Okay, for some reason I cannot start my video. Okay, so let's go back to this one and see if that works. Okay, so pretend that your fingers here are resting on something that you can stabilize, and that way you can do the brush techniques with some steadiness if you have to go into finer places. When it comes to something such as, I think what you're referring to is going around these. Yeah, I did mask, but it's taking a lot of little pieces of tape and ripping them and kind of fitting them. So I try to avoid doing masking. So spraying's not usually something I do, but with the case of doing this dark brick, I did go through the exercise of actually masking those. Now, you can kind of put the tape on there and kind of cut it out or whatever. I just kind of ripped and tore and fitted it in until I kind of covered what I needed to, and then took big pieces over the larger areas. So that's kind of what I do for those type of things. The process for me is, at least with this, was I get the base sprays down is what I did. Then for the stuff like the brick, I went with the Hunter line with the kind of darker washes in order to fill into those gaps and cracks and whatever, because that's what you want, is you want that everything to kind of build up, so to speak. And it's the same as doing I guess anybody who's done like scenery painting and whatever, you kind of go from the back to the front. Still, it's kind of the same effect or same kind of policy. So I think I can still share my screen here. So I just took a few pictures So hopefully this will, so this was the one that I had where I had the one side with just the base on the
You're
brick.
still not sharing.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to hit the actual. There we go. There, you can see that now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this was the this is the one where I had I guess it would be the right side there, where it didn't have the paint on the brick. So I went with that kind of darker brown to get into the cracks and everything. I find it gives that kind of grimy look without having to, because if you did like a very light gray, like an actual grout wash in there, you really wouldn't see it with the yellow paint. So in this case, you're actually kind of doing yourself a little bit of words not coming to me, but you're going overboard with the darkness in order to get the brick to pop. Then with the dry brushing of the yellow, I went and I started doing that tonight. I kind of finished it off while we were listening to the others, and then I started hitting it with some of those other colors. And then what I went back was I went with the sepia brown wash over top of that, and it tones down that yellow, even though I'm using a pale yellow, so that it's kind of got that grittiness and everything to it, and just accentuates. So you're really up close here, so you can probably see it's not like perfect on some of these paints, but I don't really want perfect in a lot of cases, because at an HO scale, when you're about a foot and a half, 2 feet, 3 feet away, this is all going to blend quite nicely. And then with some final weathering and so forth, this will all kind of come together. So these are the ones where I did the stone bases a little bit. So you can see I kind of built it up with different colors, but the one I wanted to. So those were the chimney ones where I did the wash, and I went back and hit it with some of those other colors. And if I needed to, I can kind of tone that down a little bit more where some of those colors pop a little bit. But I find that having that pop of color will actually, from a couple foot distance, will actually help that stand out nicely. And I can still go back and add more on the wash. This was just kind of doing kind of a quick go around at the wash. The one on the left hand of the screen, I think kind of shows the bit nicer. And if I need to, I can dry brush a little bit of red tones or whatever to make that brick pop back out if I need to. So it's just different types of ways that you can go through this. With the dark brick like this, I don't necessarily need to go with like that sepia brown on it but I'll do a couple different things in order to kind of make it look dirty in certain places. Pictures that, like, I'm going to say that Nick is a really good modeler himself, but one of the things that he and one of his partners does that's really cool is they use a lot of color, and they're a little bit more they're a little bit heavier than I am with some of the stuff, but the effects that they achieve are really quite neat with some of these. So as you can see, like in this particular one, there's a lot of dirt in the brick, so to speak. So it just depends on kind of the level. And this is why, if I'll go back and say it again, the buildings where you actually sit there and have pictures of those kind of things can be really helpful to you. So I think hopefully I've answered all the questions that were kind of there.
I think you answered my question real adequately, and I want to thank you on that. And I also wanted to throw in a brief comment on, I thought your dry brushing tutorial explanations was excellent tonight, so thank you.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
Anybody else have any more questions?
Yeah, this is Rich Randall. I have a question on the waffle sidecar. Is David?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. This concerns the end of the car. When you fasten the ends to the floor. So I'm wondering, see my end here.
Yep.
Did you mill out the back of this?
Oh, okay. You've got the older version. He didn't mill out the slot that I have in mind. So what you basically have to do is line up right where that hanger is, line that up with the bottom of the floor. Let me see if I can show you on this one here. Can you kind of see how I lined that up?
We've lost your camera.
Okay,
Yeah, can you see how I lined it up that where this hanger is right here?
yeah,
You line it up with the bottom of that where the draft gear will go. So that has to be even. So that's that. Like I say, I didn't realize that that first kit I built didn't have that slot in there like this one does. So just line this piece up here with the with where the draft gear will slide, make that even all the way across, and that's where you line up your ends.
well, you realize that the slot, the ends are going to be too far apart because the slot has a relief in it.
Well, the newer kit does. My guess is put your ends up there. You can just kind of clamp them if you can, or put them in between something, and then lay your side in there and see if it looks like it's going to fit.
Yeah,
Like I say, that first car I built, the one that I've got painted orange, that didn't have those milled out areas, and the sides fit in there perfectly. So I don't know if John redesigned the kit to shorten the sides up a little bit to allow for that relief. But just double check it. Check it out. See if
I did
see
match.
if the sides are too short or too long. But
Yeah.
I'm guessing, because I didn't have a problem with my car and it didn't have that first relief. So I'm guessing your sides are going to fit perfectly between those ends when you put them on there. But just
No.
test fit it, set her on there, and hold, put some weights up against to hold the ends in place, and then see if your side fits.
Yeah, I did that. The side is a little bit shorter, which is allowing for that notch.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I'm going to have to send these back to John.
Yeah, get a hold of him. He's probably got the new ends that have that notch in there. Send him those old ones, and he'll probably send you the new ones. I don't think it'll be a problem at all.
Okay, the other question is, these ends, they have a lot of grooves in them, like striations.
Yeah, that amazingly enough, that disappears with the primer.
It
So
what?
it looks like it's going to be rough, but you spray primer on there, and a lot of that disappears.
Okay,
So
yeah,
it's not been an issue, but the sides, some of the sides have that too. You can see a lot of where the print, each line of the print, but amazingly enough, when you shoot primer on there, that'll fill that in, and it's been not an issue.
okay, Dave, that's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Feel free to ask.
Anybody else have any questions?
Phil had a comment.
I was just saying you can use filler primer also, which helps fill those in. It's another way. And it's also a way of putting wood grain in, because you can use 3 or 4 coats of filler primer and then use a side of a razor saw to put wood grain into 3D printed stuff. Obviously, you wouldn't want to do that for the side of a car like this, but you might try some filler primer.
Is that what they call it? I mean, when you go to
It's
the
just,
paint,
yeah, if you just go, if you go, it's a bottle of the regular spray paint at Home Depot, but it's called automotive filler primer.
okay.
And it's got more thick material in it, so it's a little thicker layer of paint, and it kind of fills in. It will fill in some holes. So if you can see them, it might be interesting to try some of that.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Well, I had a question for Craig Cassidy and all that, but it's been so long, I forgot what it was. I should have wrote it down.
Well, it'll come back to you in a few minutes, Ed.
Yeah, I'll probably remember it once they hit the, end meeting and all that. Then I'll be like, oh, that's what it is.
That's okay. You got my email.
Yes.
Well, unless anybody has any more questions, that's it for the show tonight. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope most importantly, you learned something. We've got a full show again next week. They will get more in control as we go into December, particularly the later part of December. But right now they're very full, and we're doing the best we can to accommodate everybody and make sure that everybody has their questions asked and answered. So thank you so much for being here tonight. And we'll turn it over to you, Mr. Cooney, for the after show.
Woohoo, it's the after show. Which could be scary or it could be good. Somebody else is going to get that. So how's everybody tonight? And I don't know if he's still on. Let me see. Who's all on tonight that I can painstakingly bother? Let's see. Oh, Earl's gone again. Dave,
Raleigh was smart enough to bail.
Yeah, Dave. Oh, there. Now during the show a few minutes ago, I said to a friend from Cantonsville, Maryland, I said, "Hey, what are you eating?" And he kind of smiled. Hey, Rick, unmute yourself. You never did tell me what you never did tell me what you actually had.
The boss made me stir fry.
Oh, you could have shared.
I could. Well, the cat had that opinion.
All right. Well, I don't think. No, you've been on before, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, Rick's, you're also following along on the ITLA build, aren't you?
Yeah, mine hasn't arrived yet. I got a hunch it's probably in a packing crate, maybe with the Rapido stuff that they recovered. I don't know, but
it's off the Los Angeles port somewhere, probably.
Yeah, I figured it took the long way from Canada to get over here to the East Coast.
Well, I started working on mine last week. I told Nick I'm trying something novel, and if it works out, I'll show it to him. If it doesn't work out, I'm going to burn the evidence.
Check your neighbor's mailbox.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know that one myself.
Oh, constant.
So, all right. So you're waiting on yours. Little did I know, I told Nick, I said, apparently, I'm helping his retirement fund because I have 3 of those same kits. I have no idea why. So anyway, Mr.
3?
Cosgrove, what's happening in? Are you in Florida or are you in Michigan?
I'm in Florida.
Oh well.
Yeah, we did get our first snow up there the other day.
Yeah.
But it was too warm, so it all melted as it hit the ground. So I guess I got about an inch.
We haven't had any up here in the Great Green North.
Amazing.
Yeah, it couldn't cross the border yet.
Yeah, didn't have its COVID shot. But yeah, no, but they're talking in the next few days it might snow, so that's good for model railroading, though.
Oh yeah, good time work on it.
Yeah.
If I can interject here, just a quick second.
Go ahead,
Rick
Chris. Yeah.
had a question on the surface priming, the scratching of that thing.
Right.
And Phil suggested a surface primer. There's a couple of other products out there that he may want to utilize. One of them being Mr. Surfacer, and I can't.
Oh, is that part of Mr. Hobby stuff?
Let me get rid of that here. I don't know if you guys.
Yeah, that's part of the Mr. Hobby line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
here we go. And it comes in a couple of different thicknesses, like this one's the 1000, but it's basically various filler putties that's just been thinned out quite a bit.
Is
And
it, Chris, is it self-leveling at all?
yes,
Oh,
yes.
great.
They add some other things to it and make it pretty good. And I still haven't tried this one yet. This
What
is
back?
the Vallejo's product.
Oh, I've been using that all the time in my airbrush.
Yeah, and I don't know how this would fill. You know, the 3D.
It's a pretty
printing
thin
thing.
coat. When I've used it, I've never really noticed any loss of detail or anything.
Yeah, so, but I have not used either one of these on 3D parts, so I don't know. But when Phil brought up the idea of the filler primer, this Mr. Hobby stuff, I thought would be really, really useful. And it does come in 3 different thicknesses, if you will. So just some food for thought. Sorry to interject there. I wanted to try to catch him before he jumped off. I don't know.
Yeah, no. That's good. That's good.
There are products that are sold to level out 3D printed stuff too. I know markets some of them. I don't have any idea what they're called or anything. I've just bumped into them rummaging through their catalog.
Is it a paint, Jamie?
It's some kind of a liquid. I don't know if you'd call it a paint or, I don't know what they term it, but it's literally sold to level out 3D printed products.
But I guess if you're using something like that, you have to make sure that the surface you're having it sitting on is level, because if you put that on it, you don't want it to form heavier on one side than the other or something, right?
I would guess. I don't know. Let me take a quick check here.
Yeah, I've tried a few things, but if you're trying to cover the layer lines, you have to be careful. You're not going to dull your detail, your like rivets and such, because essentially it's a liquid with it has surface tension on it, and it can, this is like a heavy coat of paint. I've talked to people that use Rust-Oleum primer filler, and you may have to do a little bit of cleanup after that. It leaves it real coarse chalk. There's also a device that's sold, or guys do it themselves with a 5-gallon bucket with acetone. Leave a printed item in acetone with the lid on it for whatever 24 hours or so. I've never done it. It works well with ABS plastics, but I don't use ABS.
Here, if I can share for a minute.
Yeah, everybody can share.
Yeah, there's Micromark stuff. I guess they call it a resin. It's a 2-part stuff. It's not cheap, $40.
Yeah, but you wouldn't need more than
whatever. It says it'll cover 100 square inches. So whatever. Anyway, that's.
Yeah, just don't mix it all at once.
Yeah, right. I've never used this stuff. I'm not a big fan of Micromark. I'm not, again, I've seen this on here. It exists. It's designed to do this. That's all I'm saying. That's,
Yeah, cool.
So.
Yeah, but.
Well, I can see that working, especially if you remember back in filament printing's early days, you'd get automobile cars printed and they'd just be all fuzzy because it just had a very coarse surface. I could see this kind of stuff, especially filling in those little
Ozzy, you were just looking at the dice.
Poor resolution is the. Anyway, that's so again, and there might be you might be able to buy the same stuff at your local hardware store for less, or you might be able to buy something similar. Somebody else might be selling something similar. I don't know. Anyway, I've seen it in Micromark's catalog. I thought I would mention it.
Yeah, cool.
Clark's got some, ask him.
What's that?
You got some primer?
Yeah, I got primer. And my wife doesn't like when I use it either because all my details become dull.
Oh, okay.
She likes me bright and bushy tailed.
Oh.
So, all right. Well, that's an interesting topic. Anybody else have any questions? I don't know. Brian, are you still here? Brian Sean?
Yep,
No,
I'm still here.
Oh, are you? Anybody else have any questions for Brian? He's modeling away.
Yeah, Brian, this is my first time. I'm doing the ITLA kit too. This is my first time working with the MDF, and I haven't used any stain on it yet. How does it take stain compared to basswood or other sidings and stuff?
Well, I've typically always done the spray base, light coats, and that tends to kind of seal it up enough that it doesn't like necessarily absorb very watery type of things and start warping. But Nick uses a material that's thick enough that it's pretty hardy,
yeah,
to kind of liquid. But I wouldn't
meant
say
more
that
in
you want
terms
to drop this.
of absorption in terms of how it looks. Now I know all of his stuff is stone and brick, and I can't imagine using a stain directly on it, but there might be a case where I might just test with that, but I'm wondering if you have.
I have not used stains in that sense, because the only building that I did that was wood was Grimsby Station, but I painted it.
Okay.
I wasn't going for the stain look, but I know I've seen versions of that model that were done and they did do a stain and it looked pretty good. But I don't know how they did it or what they did per se, but it was going for that stain look. And I'm going to say that I found that with stains, my experience with the Hunterline stuff has been pretty good with most of those, but MDF is a little different. So yeah, I think you'd want to play with that a little bit to see, the MDF where there's nothing, the surface hasn't been marred. I don't think it's going to take very well, but the stuff where there's been some level of cut lasering to it, that will kind of take that stain a little differently. But that one's a bit of a tough call, because I haven't had
so
enough
the sheet that
experience.
he has, the MDF, it's a pressed wood product. So
yep,
the outer surfaces of that are pretty much pressed under high pressure, and so they're not going to absorb the way it would if it was just sawn or something.
Well, yeah, I think on the surface you just have glue, right? You got a thin layer of glue on the surface, so you can't get absorbed through it. When you cut away to the wood fibers.
Right. So like I was saying, where you've got those the grout lines of the brick, the spalled brick cuts that he's done, like he's come up with a way to kind of do not like a complete cut, but like varying depths of cutting.
Yeah, he's
in
just
certain
etching
areas.
into it.
And once you get those, yeah, the absorption is far higher than just the flat surface because of very much what was just said. So yeah, I've not tried to do those because any building where I've done kind of that, it's been strip wood or whatever. So I'm not trying to do a stain with that kind of a material. At least I haven't tried to yet.
Okay, thanks.
I too am doing the ITLA kit, and quite frankly, I have not even cracked the plastic bag yet. But and this may be kind of a stupid question because I haven't cracked the bag, but I've been kind of thinking about doing a little bit of kit bashing with this thing. So How
Sure.
does that MDF cut with the, say, a Zona saw?
It should cut fine, but you know, obviously be careful and don't rush. Because I've cut MDF pieces and it just depends on what I'm trying to cut, how big a piece I'm trying to cut and whatever, and how much control I can keep on it so that piece doesn't slide around on me, so to speak. So it will cut fine. It's just you have to take the appropriate measures to hold it properly in place and don't rush it, or else you will it will bugger up just like anything else will. But
Okay.
ideal, yeah, these, I can't see why you wouldn't be able to kit bash some of these.
Okay, I guess my question was if you use something like a Zona saw and make the cuts, they don't come out kind of jagged and stuff where you're cutting through those layers.
No, but like I said, I think you have to be careful and have it tacked down enough that it's not going to slide around and whatever, so that you can just go through. Like if you rush it, I think, yeah, you're going to end up with a mess. But I've not used the Zona saw, so you know, like how much control can you maintain with it? But if you've got the piece so it's not sliding around on you, I don't see why it couldn't.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, this is Jeff Jordan. The Wit and Wisdom kit, it's all made out of MDF as well, and I modified it in several respects, cutting it with an X-Acto saw. I have a tiny little miter box. It keeps the lines very straight. You take your time, you saw slowly, and you get a very sharp and very smooth cut. It's reminiscent of masonite. It's like miniature masonite, and so if you cut it slow, it gives you a very sharp, clean cut.
Okay, yeah, that kind of tells me to use the extra fine blade and
yes,
and
yes,
yeah. So that's the info that I was kind of looking for. Do I use the wider blade or the extra fine and stuff? So thank you, excellent.
Any of you guys own the little miniature table saws?
I wish.
I have a Jeremiah.
Oh well, I would use that.
Yeah, I've got a Jeremiah connected to a foot pedal so I can control the speed, because they're basically sewing machine engines attached, but they go up to 80,000 RPM.
Yeah. I bought the Micro Mart one, and it's got a speed adjustable one, and I've been using it like crazy in the last month that I've had it, and I've been pretty happy with it.
Yeah, for what I've been kind of considering, I'm just not sure that I'd be able to make the cuts on the table saw that I want to control it. So I don't know. I haven't played with this stuff, so I don't know. And I'm not even sure what I'm doing yet with it. That's why it's not even open.
Nothing wrong with that. I got 3 kits that are not open.
Only 3?
Yes. No, of the same building, yes.
Oh.
Yeah, but you can make them into one big building.
Well, I'm actually thinking of building the cube and then using another building to make the flats.
You can make it like it extends off from the cube type
Exactly.
thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
yeah, I've talked with Nick a lot, obviously, and he's helped me with certain kits that I've wanted and I've designed and everything. So I got a lot better understanding of what goes into these. But it's really comes down to that these materials that he uses for his kits, I can understand why he's chosen them, just because there is a very much a consistency of quality and repeatable end result type thing. And
right.
Like the MDF may not be what you're looking for doing staining. I get that. But you know, there is a quality to that is very consistent. So, you know, it makes, and it's very stable. So you don't need a lot of substructure on some of these things in order for them to work on their own.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I still haven't even built my station kit yet either, but you built yours, so.
Well, I can pull it out if needed, but
Yeah, that's a neat kit.
Hold on.
If you're looking for a neat station, this the ITLL it's based on a CN prototype, but man, it's a beautiful kit.
Don't know if I can get this all in one shot with the camera, but we'll see what happens here. So this is the building that is in Grimsby, Ontario, for those who are not familiar with the area. You know what? I'm gonna have to put this camera up higher in order to get this.
Not that high.
Well, it'll be easier for me to.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Okay, so now I can kind of. Well, I may have to raise this a little too, but that's the.
Yeah, you did a really nice job on it. I mean, I've seen this station in person, so.
So that's the building, and one of the neatest parts that I found was his whole substructure for these turrets and how it went together, and it was actually really. There's a challenge to it, of course, but it was actually simple if you followed the instructions, so to speak, to actually get it to come together quite nicely. So that's that side of the building. And then let me just grab this. So that's the street side. Okay. So I did it as if this was a brand new building. So the copper roof hasn't even patinaed, that kind of idea. So this one here, I was going to the level of trying to have everything look good, not, you know, worn out and everything. So that's what I found. And, you know, Nick was actually like, you did a copper roof, and he goes, we never even thought of that type thing, just because if you flipped over these panels, it was a shingle print on them. And I just flipped it the other way and then started working with the idea, because I wanted it to have a certain look and effect.
And
so
what did you use for the copper effect, Brian?
it's just the same type of paints, you know, Michael's paints, but it took me 2 or 3 versions, because there's different, obviously, manufacturers, before I kind of got a copper look that actually made sense for the look of a copper roof.
Cool.
Because, you know, like a copper penny, even when it's new, like it's got a real brightness to it. But copper roofs don't quite have that same look. It's a little richer color, I'm gonna say.
Do you guys remember what pennies look like?
Yeah, I still have some.
Okay, cool. Just checking.
They're dirty and old, but I got some.
Hey, can you do me a favor and I missed when you had the 2 walls, like the corner, could you put those back up? I want to see how he treats like how the brick's made.
Oh, I haven't taken these out, but
I thought you just had 2 pieces of one there, like the other building.
Okay, yeah, I believe I know what you're saying now. Well, actually, you want the brick, so let me grab that. Sorry, I kind of made a mess of everything here. Okay, there we go. So this is
okay. So yeah, when you put that tab and slot together.
That tab and slot goes together.
Yeah. Now, does he have bricks cut like in the tab and like on the end of the tab or slot?
No, but he's actually working on that.
Okay.
He thinks he's figured that out, and I don't know if he's gone back to some of the older kits or whatever to update that. But it was a comment that I had, and we got into a conversation, and he thinks he has it figured out.
No, but the kit has a strip that hides those
Yeah,
tabs.
with this kit,
Yeah, okay.
there's the
That's-
corner
alright,
strips
then.
that will hide it. So no,
Alright.
there's nothing. But one of the areas where I had commented and he had kind of like, yeah, that would be awesome, is like you've got these see if it shows up, but you've got the indent of the window in the brick type thing. Well, all that little return there, you could capture that. Now, especially when you get into larger scales, it's really going to start to stand out type thing. And that's what he's kind of working out on, kind of.
Yeah,
how to
I was
do that.
wondering, you just have to paint that dark in there so that you don't notice there aren't any actual brick lines,
I
right?
figured out a way to do the brick on the ends of the, you know, like what would be on the ends of the MDF, but it requires, you know, I tend to do one-off stuff and, you know, you need to do a bunch of them. So, you know,
The problem with the tab and slot is, when I've designed the kits I've had printed type thing, I can make sure that those bricks are 100% in alignment vertically, so that could be done type thing.
Yeah.
But I've seen a number of kits that I've tried to put together, and the bricks on one wall are slightly shifted from the bricks on another wall. So if you didn't have that piece to kind of hide those, it would just look weird. It wouldn't. And for me, being of an architectural background, that stands out and just pisses me off right there.
Yeah.
But it is still
Hi,
the
guys.
fact that you're trying to hide that tabbing.
Yeah.
Because if you're filling in the gaps or any little cracks, you tend to fill in the bricks too.
Right.
So it's a really, really tough thing to kind of deal with on a totally exposed corner. And the one I did, I actually introduced like a stone kind of corner molding, just because it's like, I can't get what I want. So I don't want it to look like crap. So I've come up with an alternative.
I laid a bunch of, I did it on a chimney, I think it was. And I made like 8 chimney sides and I put them together. And then I put those in the laser and cut them like they were a piece of wood.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I, you know, you like, it might work okay on the MDF because it's fairly thick, but you know, like to try to do it on a piece of like, you know, 32nd inch wood or whatever, you're trying to hit, you know, like you're just trying to hit this little bit with the laser.
I don't think I would.
I stacked up a bunch of them together and then I could cut them that way, you know? So like I'd already laser cut on the side and then I turned them on end, but I needed a bunch of them together to do it. So like I said, it worked with a chimney because I was making 3 or 4 chimneys. I could put, you know, 10 or 15 sides together, but you know, to do like a one building, I just doesn't, you know.
Everything when it comes to laser printing is it's either a cut or it's basically an etch.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a matter, I think it's a matter of where you're cutting in order to how to get that horizontal line. To get the vertical lines, no, I don't think there's any way you're ever going to pull that off. But the horizontal lines, so that you can kind of get that wrap, yeah, you could probably deal with that.
Yes, I didn't really need any vertical lines because mine were only like a 32nd of an inch for HO. So you weren't, you know, you weren't a whole brick wide.
But when you deal with a brick, you're going to have the interlocking of the corner.
Right.
So
yeah.
you got a full and a half, so to speak.
Yeah.
So
I did something.
Those that's where I would be kind of my thinking, just it kind of messes me up still.
Yeah, I made an S-scale gas station in brick, and I didn't try to do tab and slot. I just sanded a 45-degree angle into the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I gave one to somebody and he's like, you know, oh, you did a great job of butting those together. So the bricks came out just right. And I said, it was probably just random luck, but okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And I probably need to ask Nick this. I've never really done anything with MDF. Do you have any idea like what kind of settings he uses to cut MDF?
Oh no, I like
okay.
the actual lasering.
That would be a trade secret.
Yeah, I think
Well,
there's,
yeah, possibly, but you know, and I mean, I can experiment with mine if he doesn't want to tell me, but I just thought he could save me some trouble.
No,
so.
I don't know. He's a pretty good guy. So, but
yeah,
you'd
he's a
have to
pretty good
ask him.
guy.
Well, like I
You can
said,
reach out and ask the questions, but you know, like
I'm not going to go into production. I'm not trying to put him out of business by any means, because you know, I'm just looking for personal.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I bought a sheet of the MDF, and I just thought, you know, if you had any advice on cutting it, it'd save me playing with it.
Well, I know I've watched the process of it actually being cut at his place and everything, and I know some of the background of how going about things, but there's more to it than I've tackled with him, and I like what that etching levels and depths and widths and all those, like he knows that stuff obviously, but you know, with the MDF, it's a sturdy enough material that he can get a good groove in there type thing for brick. You know, with some of the ones I've seen, it's so shallow, those grooves, that to do anything with it, you almost lose that detail right away. So it's a very tough thing. But like when I was painting these, like with that dry brush kind of technique, there's enough depth there that as long as you're not heavy on the paint, you can get great results.
Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to cut off the after show live. For those
I'm bailing anyway, so good night.
Okay, good night, Jamie. We're going to continue on the after show, but it won't be recorded or taped or shown on YouTube. If you're on YouTube and you want to watch or join in, you should subscribe to New Tracks Modeling, and you can continue with us on the after show, I guess it is. So anyway, I'm going to stop the live stream, and to all of those who are on the live stream, have a good night.